I've said it 1,000 times that I don't feel 76. But man, I could do without the reminders. It's true. I don't feel my age. I don't feel 76. I feel like I'm still in my 50s. I mean, obviously, I don't feel like I'm 30 or even 40, but I feel like I'm in my 50s. I don't feel like I've changed that much from my 50s to now. My likes are still my likes, and my dislikes are pretty much still my dislikes. I mean, there's some variation, sure, but I still feel basically like I'm in my 50s, not in my 70s. I still like basically the same the same kind of music I've always liked. That hasn't changed much. I still have a peculiar sense of humor. If you know me, you probably know what I'm talking about. And when somebody talks about the 80s or the 90s, I'm still thinking 15, 20 years ago. I'm not thinking 35, 40 years ago. And I'm still a long hair at heart, obviously. Not that that has any particular thing to do with age, but it might. And being 76 is kind of an odd place to be. I've never been 76 before. And when you don't feel like you're 76, that's weirder yet. But then wake up in the morning and roll out of bed and have to sit down for a minute before I stand up to get my bearings and have to hang on to the windowsill or the bedpost. I stumble into the bathroom and look in the mirror and see the bags under my eyes and my thinning hair. I might look like I have a lot of hair now, but you should have seen me 10, 20 years ago. It was a lot thicker. There's a lot more scalp showing now than there used to be. That's a little reminder that I'm not 50 anymore, that I'm not 40 anymore. And then when I'm sitting in my lazy boy reading or whatever, and I happen to glance over and see the crook in my arm, the chicken skin crook in my arm, that's a little reminder that I'm in my 70s. I could do without those reminders. Or sitting at the table and look down at my hands and see my veins popping out and how thin the skin is on the back of my hands. That's something I remember from my grandmother. That's not something that should be on my hands. Of course, when my grandmother was living with us, she was probably in her 70s at the time. But that doesn't feel like me. And as you might know, I walk every morning or almost every morning. And the hills around the house here, some of them some of them are pretty steep. And on those particular days, getting to the top of the hill is different than it used to be. That's another little reminder that I'm not 50 anymore. And those are just the physical reminders. How about when somebody asks, "Can I give you a hand with that?" and they're 30 or 40 years younger than you? That's a little reminder. I mean, I would picture myself as the person offering to help, not the person that needs the help. And how about when you're filling in a form and it asks for the year of your birth and you have to scroll and scroll and scroll to find 1949? That's a little reminder, a rude reminder. Or you're watching the news or reading the news or however you get your news, and somebody makes a comment about an elderly person of 65. What? An elderly person of 65? It's funny how the term elderly changes the older you get. And to be honest, I don't recognize 90% of the celebrities they talk about anymore, except the ones except the ones that are passing away. I recognize them. That's not too encouraging. That's another rude reminder. And speaking of celebrities, when did our peers get so old? Can that really be Gracie Slick? And I'm not talking about Willie and Keith because they were born old. But seriously, it's all okay. I don't hate being 76. I don't hate being elderly. I'm fortunate and grateful that I don't feel old. I still got some young spirit in me. I hope I always do. And when somebody says act your age, what does that mean? How am I supposed to act like somebody that's 76? Does that mean I'm supposed to be grumpy and mean and yelling at the kids to keep off the grass? Is that acting my age? I don't know. I'm still curious about things. I still wonder about things, the hows and the whys and the wherefores. I hope I always do that too. Age doesn't happen all at once. It kind of sneaks up on you. So no, I don't feel 76, but I do get a reminder from time to time. And I'm curious what reminders you get you of your age, whatever your age is. If you get reminded from time to time, drop it down in the comments. I'd like to hear about it. I'll bet you I can relate to them. We may be older, but we're not done yet. Peace and joy, my friends. And remember, it's only a number.